morning. So for this lab, really it's just going to be looking at pictures and drawing in your packets as much as you can to be able to identify the pictures. Things you need to know is you need to be able to identify the image, so what kind of tissue it is. You need to know what category it belongs to, so is it epithelial tissue, is it muscle tissue, is it connective tissue, or is it nervous tissue? And you should know the location of an example of the type of tissues that we're going to look at, and then know function of the tissue. So those are the things. So as you go through the slides, you'll just kind of be filling in that table in your lab packet. So we're going to start with simple squamous, which is going to be a type of epithelial tissue. So simple squamous are shaped, they're flattened and scale-like shells. I kind of think they look like little fried eggs with the nucleus right there. So here's a sheet of simple squamous cells. And here's kind of what a diagram looks like. These cells or these tissues are found in your alveoli, also make up the outer layers of your skin, in the glomerulus of your kidneys, and inside your capillaries. Interesting that the location of this type of tissue, because simple means that there's just one layer, and then these cells, because they're so flattened, makes it really easy for diffusion to occur. So for oxygen or carbon dioxide or nutrients to cross over into the cell. So it's really pretty significant that these single layered flat cells are found in like your alveoli, where we want oxygen and carbon dioxide to be able to cross through the tissues easily, or the outer layers of your skin. In your kidneys, again, where things are being filtered and reabsorbed, this is a great tissue to do that because they're so thin, the single layer, and then those flattened like shells. Also, you can also notice with all epithelial tissue is that the cells are really packed together tightly. There's not a whole lot of space in between cells, so epithelial tissues typically form long sheets of tissue. And that's what, again, helps give it some of its function. Stratified squamous, so stratified, remember, is going to be more than one layer of cells, and then we name stratified tissue based on the type of cell that's on the top layer. So here's multiple layers of tissue, here's a layer, here's a layer, here's a layer. But you can see here that these top layers are these squamous cells, so that's why it's called stratified squamous. The location of stratified squamous is going to be found in the inner layers of your mouth, they line your esophagus, and also line your vagina. So these are going to be, because they're stratified, a little bit thicker and are going to function a little bit more in terms of protection. Simple cuboidal epithelial tissue. These are going to be tissues that are shaped like boxes. So you can see all of these cells around the ring here are box shaped. There's a diagram. These cells are found in the kidneys. You can see the nucleus really well in these cube-shaped shells. They're also going to be found on the surface of your ovaries, the lining of your kidneys or the nephrons, the walls of your renal tubules, and parts of the eye and thyroid. Try and get this so you can get there. So simple cuboidal, a lot of found in most structures involved in your kidneys, which is where this tissue sample was actually found. So here's the nucleus. This is the kidney tubule, sorry. Number 3 is pointing to the nucleus. Number one is pointing to the cuboidal cell. So 1, 2, 3. Columnar. This is the columnar cell, so they're very long columns. This here is the nucleus, and you can kind of see down here is where the basal membrane is, which is going to be like an extra layer of protective membrane or surface. Notice the column shape of the cell. These are going to line most of the organs of your digestive tract, including the stomach, the small intestines, and the large intestines. So all of these are going to be in the epithelial category of tissues. And then again, depending on the shape, we'll determine its location in part, because that is going to determine what its function is. Going on to neurons, which is the only nervous cell that we're going to go through or study. So neuron is the main electrical generating cell of the nervous tissue. Remember, nervous tissue is made up of neurons, which can generate the electrical signal, and then supporting cells, which basically wrap around the neurons and help support it, giving it nutrients, protecting it, that type of thing. So here's a neuron. This is the cell body of a neuron. These are going to be the dendrites that branch off. This eventually will continue on long to be the axon, and electrical signals just travel down this way. Here's the nucleus right here. Moving on to connective tissues. Here are your red blood cells. These look like small red circles, kind of referred to as donut shaped because of that, lighter colored inside or middle part. This is bone, also in the connective tissue category. Bone is obviously found in your bone. These are the Haversian canals of your compact bone. So you can see they kind of look like, it looks like wood or a tree, like if you cut a tree looking at the tree rings is what I think it looks like, or a bullseye. Tissue, connective tissue example number 3 is cartilage. You can see here again, you got your nucleus here, you've got these different cells. Cartilage, so if you compare this to that picture of the squamous epithelial where the cells were all packed together really tight, you can see cartilage here. These cells are really spaced out. There's a lot of extracellular material that the cells are floating in. And the reason why is, if you think about it, cartilage, its job is to kind of help absorb shock. So, it squeezes and it pushes, and all of this extracellular material kind of gives it that property. This is hyaline cartilage. Adipose is fat, again, in the connective tissue category, and its function is going to be to protect, to insulate. I think adipose looks exactly how you would imagine adipose to look like, right? These big globs of white cells. Packed together pretty tight, again, in part because its job is to help insulate and protect. So this small amount of extracellular fluid in here gives it the ability to do that. And then we get to our 3 muscle tissue types. First is skeletal muscles. Notice the pinstripes here. Okay, you see the little lines that are forming? These are called striations. Skeletal muscle and cardiac muscles are both striated. They have these stripes. These dots here are all nuclei, so skeletal muscle have multiple nuclei in them, not just one. All muscle tissue are going to be, the cells are going to be really long. Okay, so these are all muscle cells. Moving on to cardiac muscle. Cardiac muscle is also striated, so you can see the stripes here too, the pinstripes. Looks a little different than in the stripes in the skeletal muscle, but you can see that it has those striations. You can also see these long lines here, these darker lines. These are called intercalated discs. And what these discs do is they basically join one cardiac muscle cell to another cardiac muscle cell. So here's one cell, here's one cell, here's one cell. Here's a cell, and then on this side is another cell. You can't see it very well in this picture. Here's a nuclei, but cardiac muscle only has one nuclei per cell, unlike skeletal muscle, which has multiple. And then smooth muscle. Smooth muscle looks like kind of like just like a pink wave. There's no striations, there's no pinstripes there, so that's what makes it smooth. Smooth muscle is found inside the lining of all of your hollow organs, so their job is to kind of, especially your digestive organs, push food through your esophagus and your stomach and your small intestines, large intestines, to push those materials through muscle contraction. So that it's found inside all of your hollow organs also found inside of your blood vessels, your arteries and veins, which again helps push blood through. Cardiac muscle, I'm sorry, I should have said, is muscle found in your heart. That's the muscle that makes up your heart muscle, your heart organ. And then skeletal muscles are going to be the muscles that are attached to your bones. That's where they're located. So your biceps, your triceps, your gluteus maximus, all those muscles are skeletal muscles. They're in charge, or their job is to provide movement. They work with your bones to provide a lever system. Cardiac muscle's job is to pump blood through your body. That's what that muscle is doing. And smooth muscle is to pump different substances through either your digestive tract or your blood vessels. So these are the muscles of these are the organs, these are the tissues that you're responsible for knowing by being able to identify them. Again, make sure that you know their location, make sure you know what category it belongs to, epithelial, muscle, nervous, or connective, and then know function, what it is that that tissue is actually responsible for doing. The more detailed that you draw your pictures, the better off you're going to be in terms of studying. Have a great day.